stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known. It would have kept me from the one I had today. Times gone by, I've traded black dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life, there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known. Would have kept me from the one I had today.
Oh, good morning. Interrupting right in the middle of the verse. But hey, guys, this is 1100 WSBI. This is Wichita Ramblers. Singing us into one street over. You know the story. If you've been with us a while, this is our opportunity to say, hey, what's going on? One street over from where you living. And we just love talking to folks around the community. And today, I'm so excited because my sister friend, Bethany Tees, is in the house. Hello. And she's here. Well, I told her, I said, we've got Ryan Martin coming in. Our city manager comes in at 7:30. And I said, you and I could talk for an hour because we're friends. And then she's my physical therapist. This is Dr. Bethany Tees, right?
That's right.
I love that. I'm like, I didn't know you were a doctor. Here's something I didn't realize, and she's with Star Physical Therapy. Let me go ahead and get that out there. But something that I did not realize is that really to do therapy and really have the best options when it comes to being a physical therapist, you have to be a doctor now. You have to get your doctorate.
Yes, in the state of Tennessee. And I think in most states it's a doctorate level.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I had no idea. And my sister's best friend, Lisa Hall, that took care of her and her, when she was dealing with cancer before she passed, she was Dr. Lisa. And that's when I first started realizing it. And you and I have been friends for a while. And I was like, Bethany's a doctor. I'd be like, I'm doctor. If I earned a doctorate, I'd be like, call me doctor.
Call me doctor.
Come on. But that's quite an accomplishment. Now, how long have you been Dr. Bethany Tees?
So I got out of school in 2009. So it'll be 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where did you study?
So humble roots at East Robertson. Go Indians.
Oh, yeah. She's one of the local girls.
And then I was at Belmont for a long time. So I did my undergrad and then graduate school there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you know what I hear is that it's not an easy school to get accepted into.
Right. A lot of the doctorate programs are very difficult to get into.
Yeah.
They have small class loads. And so
Yeah.
you really have to have all
Hustle.
your prerequisites and good.
Got to get that GPA where it
Good
needs to
stuff.
be, and all the test scores, ACTs, and all of that. So you just all got to line up. So you're smart.
I guess.
Oh, look at her. You're so humble. I mean, you really are. But Bethany, we've been friends for a long time. And really, it's so funny because my husband and I have had, things that have come up where we've needed to come and get therapy. And we were notorious for going a couple of times and then not staying with it. But a lot
You're
of
not
that,
the only ones.
well, but a lot of it is because of cost, because
Yes.
insurance can be a pill when it comes to your therapy. And
Better
that's
believe
wrong.
it.
My husband now is having to get remediation therapy really for his hip replacement. Because if you don't know my husband's story, he was crippled for, we won't talk about the doctor that did it, but he had not a good joint replacement person who crippled him and then lied about it. It was awful. And because he had done so much therapy, he got to where the insurance wouldn't pay for it. And we were stressed financially because, he was out of work and it was a tough time. And we just couldn't afford to pay for it out of pocket.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. I'm so thankful for my insurance. Oh, my
No.
goodness. they're covering it, and it has been a game changer
Yes.
for me
To
on
not
this
have
knee.
that burden
Yeah.
of a big copay.
I'm
It's a big
telling you,
difference.
you better
Copays and
believe it.
transportation are our two biggest.
Really,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And Star, how long has Star Physical Therapy been around?
And they've been around since 1996.
Okay, how long have you been with Star?
15 years.
Wow, so you went right there.
Long time.
Wow, oh my
love 'em.
goodness. Now, are you the manager there?
We call it director.
So
I've
you're
been
the
director there for 10 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Y'all know this lady. If you've been to Star, you know who Bethany is, and just you do such a wonderful job.
Well, I love it, and I love our community. I
Yeah.
think that's a big part of it too.
Yeah,
Robertson County is tight.
yeah,
And patients feel that when they're in the clinic and things like that.
Yeah.
Of course, it's funny, even when you were there yesterday, one of my patients said, I feel like I know her. Something about her so familiar. I said, it's the voice. I said, that's you turn LaVern.
that's
And so it's so
hysterical.
fun. Just,
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
the
yeah.
atmosphere
Yeah.
for me. I love our clinic.
we do have so much fun, and that's really fun because I have been in there when it's been super busy, and you still see people. You know, Dr. Gray is in there. You know, I see him. I don't know if you've worked with him or
I
not,
know who
but
you're talking about.
Yeah. And I've seen him, and just all kinds of folks in there. And I was in there yesterday right after lunch, so it was a little bit quieter, and it was just kind of fun just talking to everybody. And it's a community, and
Absolutely.
it is just neat. But the doctors now, when I did my hip replacement, it was an easier recovery.
Yes.
And it just is. Everybody told me hips are easier than knees. It is. But knees is not terrible. I mean, it was, first week was a little rough. But, and they had me come in there. Oh, Dr. Hodrick says, I want you in therapy, in 2 days. And he doesn't talk like that. He's quite charming. But Dr. Jeffrey Hodrick with Southern Joint Replacement is my joint replacement guy, and he's wonderful. You have got just glowing reports about him too. You've had a lot of good experiences with him.
Yes. I mean, we see patients from all different
Sure.
doctors, but a lot of it has to do with the patient too. I mean,
Yes.
you got to be motivated. You have to go into it with the right mindset, which you have done.
Yeah.
Can't be afraid of pain. It's
Yeah.
going to be a painful recovery.
Yeah.
But people do good with knees. They get a bad rap.
Yeah.
You hear the horror stories, and there's bad and good outcomes for all doctors and for different patients. But if you go into it with a better mindset, you're going to have better outcomes too.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the reason I wanted Bethany to come in, not just to say, hey, here's my friend, which we could talk about kids and hubbies and all that kind of stuff in life in Robertson County, and we could talk just like we're on the porch. I tell everybody, I said, when you come in here, it's like we're sitting on the porch just chatting. And so we could totally do that. But I want people to understand, if you're in pain and you've got, joint issues, look into it, because it sounds a little scary, but I guess there's a story that I like to share. I know Ilya Maldonado. Okay, he's the preacher up here at Ebenezer, and he's the president of Ebenezer Broadcasting. I remember him telling me one day about seeing a woman going into a market, like an international market up in Nashville. And I think she was Latino, and probably a newcomer to the country, but she obviously, she was from another area. And he said she was just dragging her legs. And they did something to help get her a chair. I mean, they did something just sweet for her.
Right.
They worked with her. And when he told that story, I thought joint replacement would probably give her her mobility back.
Right.
And I just wish it was more accessible for people,
Right.
because honestly, I don't think I could pay for it out of pocket. I mean, you need insurance to do it.
And you have to have a support system.
Yes.
I mean,
you
you've
really
got to
do.
have some people to help you those first couple weeks afterward,
Yeah.
whether it's driving, helping around the house,
Yeah.
just your everyday activities. And a lot of people don't have that either. And that's
Yeah.
a big factor or drawback to why they can't proceed with it.
Well, you figure when Mark had to have his reconstruction, because his collapsed and then got impact. I mean, it was horrible what he had whenever they finally when we got to Dr. Hodrick, and he's like, okay, here's what we got to do, because he was non-weight bearing on each hip, because they had to they had to split a bone. It was awful. And I was working at the Blaze in Dallas, and so he had to go into, and my son was, it was his summer between high school and college, and he was working and getting ready to leave, and so Mark went into a nursing home for 6 weeks,
Right.
and fortunately we were at that time very well insured. So I had my insurance and he had his. So we were fortunate for that. But again, it just, I wish it were more accessible. I do. That's one thing about when it comes to things that we can do from a medical perspective. I wish everybody that needed joint replacement could access it,
Right.
and because it's a game changer.
It is.
It is a game
Quality
changer.
of life. I mean, people live with their joint pain. I've had so many patients come in and tell me their pain after surgery is different,
Yeah,
and it's not even as bad as what they lived with before.
that's it right there.
Yeah.
Because I was getting up, my right knee had gotten so bad I couldn't. Right at the end of the school year, I couldn't hardly walk on it. I mean, I was just. I would stand. It was really painful. And what's really funny is they look at my left knee and they say it's worse than my right, but it's just hasn't. Sometimes your joint will just kind of pitch a certain way,
Yes.
and it'll be like, okay, we're locked up.
Yeah.
And I've had my left knee I'm getting ready to go to Mexico. Y'all be praying. This left knee hangs in there with me through Mexico because my left knee I'm getting done the Monday I get back. So you ready for me again?
I'm ready.
I can't
Great.
wait. I'm excited. I'm excited to do it. But that's why I wanted people to talk to hear that there's joint replacement is so accessible for most people if you've got insurance, and if you've got the money to do it. What do you think it costs to do joint replacement out of pocket? If somebody wanted to do it, do you have any idea?
have no
I don't
idea.
either. I can't
Now,
even
I mean,
imagine.
I know a lot of people, if they don't have insurance through their job and they're on state insurance or federal
Sure.
insurance, I mean, that is covered as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we see a lot of patients that it is no out of pocket. They do have government insurance.
Okay, and so it does
And there's
work out.
surgeons that take that. No, you get
Okay.
into differences of who,
Yeah.
takes what insurance types.
So what would you advise somebody if they're considering they're like me? I had gotten to where I couldn't hardly walk,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew I had to get this right knee done as soon as possible. So what would you advise them? Like if they're considering it, what should be the first thing that they do? You think?
Find a good orthopedic doctor.
Right.
I would start that first so they can kind of take them through the steps.
Mhm.
Again, if you have insurance, there are different steps, hoops, some people call them hoops, that you have to go through to get that surgery approved.
Right.
And so that would probably be first step. Now, a lot of insurance, you don't have to go to your primary care, then to go to the
referral.
orthopedic.
Yeah.
So you can at least avoid that step.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're in the market for needing to talk about a joint replacement, start with a good orthopedic doctor.
Well, and do you recommend people doing? My parents did the bilateral, and that means both at the same time. There was kind of a trend there for a while,
There was.
and
Yeah.
and this is really probably before you started, maybe when you were still in high school, because I know this has been a long time ago when my parents, because they're both passed now, but they both had double knee replacement. My mother did fabulous. My dad not so much.
Well, it was a big thing.
yeah.
It was probably when I first came out.
Yeah.
We saw bilaterals left and right.
Yeah.
Difficult. You
Yeah.
talk about difficult on them, their family members. You just literally don't have a good leg to stand on.
Yeah.
So
that's a good way to put
Now,
it.
what we see is the trend is like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Get one knee done, focus on it, get it well.
Mm-hmm.
And then every doctor has different criteria on the timeline of when you can get the next one.
Right.
But to really kind of rehab one, do a good job of it, get back on your feet, and then get a second one done.
Well, and it's like Dr. Hodrick, we were trying to figure out the whole Mexico thing. And he's like, if you're, because there's not a whole lot of doctors have been like, okay, yeah, you can go out of the country. He's like, you've got to have 6 weeks before you go. And so, he was insistent. He's like, you've got to have 6 weeks before you get on a plane.
It's a good timeline.
And, yeah. And so, and he goes, and you've got to, because it was 6 weeks between the surgeries. And that's a little rushing it. He would rather you wait a couple, 2-3 months and then do it. But he knows I'm working on the timeline of trying to get it done while I'm out of school.
Right.
And so the minute I got out of school, I was there. And so I got that one done. I think I had a week, and then I got
And then
the
you
surgery
started,
done.
yeah.
So I had about a week before I had the surgery. And so that gave me, it'll be 6 weeks on Monday, and I'm leaving for Mexico Saturday. So we're close.
You're doing pretty good.
Yeah. Well, and today I'm doing all my pre-op for the left knee. So I ran into some of my students the other day, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be coming back to school on a walker, just to let you know. Because I'm going to have 1 week to rehab. Then we're going to be back at school,
Yeah.
and but we don't get kids. I mean, we have a half day on Tuesday, and then we have 3 full days. And I'm just going to stay in my room and, let everybody fetch and carry for me.
Keep some ice in a cooler and
Yeah.
good.
That's just it, because I'm ready. But so I just, it's not scary. You could people come in and maybe have a consult with you?
Absolutely.
To kind of give them an idea of what to expect.
And some doctors will even send for what we call pre-op therapy.
Yeah.
Just to have that consult, hear more about it, learn some good exercises to be doing to get ready for your surgery. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but a lot of times if we teach people some things that they're going to be doing right after surgery, their body remembers it. They have some muscle memory and they respond a little bit better. Plus, a lot of people get into bad shape. They've been hurting for a long time. They haven't been as active. They've gotten deconditioned. Their joint has gotten stiff. So those are some things to maybe consider if you've really kind of gotten in bad shape even before your surgery.
Something as simple just as stretching.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's one. Y'all have all kinds of nice little gadgets and gizmos too. And I got that knee stretcher. My husband says it's absorbent. But it's amazing how much better you feel when you just stretch.
Right.
It's amazing. It is amazing. It makes such a difference. What about one thing that Dr. Hodrick told me is the difference between overdoing it and it's like that fine balance.
Yes.
And so he gave me the parameter. He said 10 minutes an hour on your feet for the first 2 weeks, no more. And of course, then when that 2-week mark hit, I was like, okay, and then he's like, no, you still gotta be careful.
Right.
So what would be the guideline? What do you have a guideline for me when I can resume full activity? What would you say? What would you say I need to be gauging for?
Watch your pain level. I would say
Okay.
at this point, now that you're getting close to the month-and-a-half mark,
Yeah.
listen to it.
Okay.
A lot of people are they've grown up with, especially you, this no pain, no gain type thing.
Yeah.
But with a lot of things that we work with, if you'll listen to it,
Yeah.
when you start noticing swelling increase, pain increase, let's tell people try to keep it under 5, 5 out of 10 pain on the scale. Once you're getting above that, you're probably done too much.
Yeah.
Back it off, get off of it. And everyone's different with their timelines. People always ask us, like, when will my swelling stop? Well, the vague answer is 6 months to a year because everyone's different, but it depends on your activity level too.
6 months to a year, the swelling. Wow. I didn't realize that.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad
Yeah,
news. But I always tell people that so they're not alarmed. Some
Yeah.
people are like, it's been, 6 months and I did something new and it swelled up on me again.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
Okay.
It's just your body still getting used to that implant.
Well, and here's something that I learned. We're going to talk about, I've got Bill Jones coming in tomorrow. My doctor is Dr. Jeffrey Hodrick, Southern Joint Replacement. He does through the incisions in the front of the knee, and it's robotic and all this. And again, I cannot say enough about Dr. Hodrick. He is amazing. What is the other guy's name that's doing that side incision?
There's a doctor in Gallatin
Okay.
that does a different approach.
Uh-huh.
He's Dr. Gouch.
Gouch. I couldn't remember his name. And I went and met with him because I was curious about it because, I wanted to understand the differences. And I just could not step away from Dr. Hodrick. I just love them so much. And I talked to you. Really, the thing that made me, because the only reason I really even went and talked to him is because I've got dear friends, John Hagen, who just wouldn't hush about him. He was like, you need to talk to him, LaVern. You need to talk to him. And so I did, because I respect John Hagen's opinion very much, because he's the one who was at Springfield Drugs and he knows his stuff. And so I was like, okay, I can't just ignore what John's telling me. And so I went and talked to him and I thought, well, okay, maybe. But then I talked to you and I said, what is the difference? What is the difference? And what would you say the difference is between the approach?
The different approaches are what the other approach is trying to save is a little bit of having to cut through your quad.
Okay,
That
through
muscle
the
in the
muscle.
front of your leg that really controls a lot of what the knee functions.
Okay.
So it's just going a little more lateral to that so they don't have to cut through that muscle as much.
And what would be the benefit of that?
Quicker walking, being able
Okay.
to lift your leg faster.
But
It's kind of a little bit faster recovery in the first 2 weeks.
Okay.
After that, I see people just kind of level out.
Okay. Because see, that's the one thing that was the game changer for me. I thought, then why would I give up my doctor?
Right.
And he was wonderful. I mean, I met with him and talked with him, and I thought, he's a great doctor. He seems just awesome, and he is doing a lot of stuff. And I mean, well, it's just like Dr. Hodrick had been doing shoulders at one point, and I'm having some trouble with my shoulder, but he's had to go. He's just knees and hips now. And I think gout is maybe just knees.
I think so.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, because people, when you do your research on doctors, number one, I tell you, if you don't go to somebody that's specializing in a joint replacement, you need to keep looking. And the guy who crippled my husband is a regular orthopedist, had been our orthopedist for about 10 years. We had no reason not to think that he would be just awesome. It was awful. It was awful, guys. And I just caution you. And again, I'm not going to, reveal who it is. If you want to know, you can call me, and I'll talk to you about it. But I just, the big thing is find a doctor that's very highly regarded, and those joint replacement specialist people, that to me is who you need to look for. And again, Southern Joint, I highly recommend them. Highly, highly recommend them. Specifically, Dr. Hodrick, if you can get in. He's getting pretty popular. But even outpatient, that's what blows my mind. I had my surgery I was the first thing, and I'm hoping they scheduled this next one the first thing, because I got to get better quick, because I got to get back to school. So I was the first surgery that morning, maybe like 6 or 7. I was home before lunch. That's crazy.
It is. It's so different. Again, when I feel like I'm aging myself when I say this, but when I started, people stayed in the hospital 2 days.
Yeah.
That was kind of the standard, is 2 nights. You'd go home on the 3rd day.
Yeah.
Some people would go to home health therapy. Some people would go to inpatient rehab. If you were doing really good, you came straight to outpatient.
Yeah.
And it is so different now.
Yeah.
Now it is a same day. You start therapy day,
At the desk.
next day or second
I talk
day.
with my hands too. But
And so it's just changed so much in that. But doctors have found with research that the sooner you get up, get moving, they really promote coming straight to an outpatient facility, get out of your house.
Oh, yeah.
You recover a lot more.
Oh, you figure. The minute I got home, I made myself get up, every hour. Number one, I'm terrified of blood clots. And because I've had people close to me that it's happened to.
Right.
And it's not super common, but it can happen. And if you're sedentary, if you don't keep moving, that's what happens. I have a cousin by marriage that she had bilateral. And I'll never forget when her son called me and told me what had happened. I just broke my heart because she'd had bilateral knee replacement. We had a friend here that was they had been part of the, I was in the Republican Party leadership for a while, and some people that came to our meetings, his wife it happened to. And I remember there was a program director years and years ago, one of the TV stations in my early days of radio, that had something with his knee and had a blood clot. It happens. You were telling me about a friend, but you have to know it's not the common thing, and you do the preventative things. Right. So what are the preventative things to get to give me peace of mind? And I know them, but let's tell the listeners, what would I do since I'm afraid of blood clot?
Even like what you're doing today, your pre-op work. That's where they're going to go ahead and start some blood work. They're going to make sure they're checking your blood levels to see if you're at risk. For them to make sure you give your doctor a really thorough history. If you've got any history of it in your family, that can be a factor too. And listen to what the doctor tells you. Some doctors do compression stocking. Some doctors say, some go to the extreme of having injections of blood thinner. Others recommend the aspirin or different other blood thinners. But you got to be compliant. You got to do that stuff. And like you said, you've got to get up. Or ankle pumps. I know people think those are so mundane, but even when they tell you that when you're in your post-op setting, you've got to move so that doesn't settle in there.
Well, and they even have a little contraption now that you put on your legs that you take home. They gave me this.
The circulation pumps,
The first week, I really found a lot of, I got a lot of peace from having that, because it was effective. It didn't bother me. But now, the second week, I'm like, okay, this thing's driving me crazy. Right. And I went to the compression socks. And this is something that Dr. Gouch recommends. And because I have a friend that went to him, and she had told me, because I was told her, I said, if I could just get the swelling to go down, I said, I'm having, because I swell really bad. And so I wear the compression socks. If you've not discovered the joys of compression socks and you're on your feet a lot, you have no idea. They're wonderful.
Right.
I wear them, I'm not in the summer, but in the winter, especially when I'm up on my feet at school, man, game changer.
Big difference.
Big difference. And they just it just helps with your energy level in your legs. But I got the real long ones to go up over the wound, and oh my goodness, it's helped tremendously. And so I'm definitely sticking with that.
Right.
And I think on the plane, it's going to help.
You better believe it. Yeah.
Because that's one thing on the plane, I would think, because that was one thing they said, you cannot fly X amount of days until after surgery. Why is that? Is it the altitude, or is it
clotting too?
Okay, because you're going to be sitting, maybe
just from being still. I think the other thing is just when you sit for long periods, when you first get up, your joints really stiff too. So I think that's the other drawback of traveling too soon after a replacement. Which again, when you're in the airplane, you can get up and walk. Or if people are traveling by car, I just advise them get up. Get out every hour. It goes back to that same rule. Get out of that position and move around a little bit. Or if you're not driving, get in the back seat and do your hill slides or do some exercises.
Yeah, that's true. I hate hill slides.
That's why I mentioned that one.
That's my nemesis, man. Well, because that's that bend.
Yes.
That's that bend.
That's what bends it.
Yeah. And that's the gauge. It's like I'm learning all the techno terms. It's like, well, I'm at 115 degrees and I'm at this many. Bill Jones is coming on tomorrow because he had Dr. Gouch. I had Dr. Hodrick. And so it's very interesting to kind of compare the differences and stuff and see how he's doing versus. And here's the thing, I'm 20 years younger than him. Yeah. And so we were kind of comparing notes. Well, I'm at this many degrees, and I did the bike rotation one weekend. I was, bending at something like 90, I think one weekend, something like that. So I have a high.
She started
pain
ahead of
threshold.
the curve.
Yeah, I have a very high pain threshold, and that's one thing Dr. Hodrick said that can be a hindrance, and we'll end up overdoing it, and causing
more
scar
swelling.
tissue.
Scar
What?
tissue.
Explain that to me. What does that mean? Because he said there's that balance between if you do too much and you get scar tissue. What causes the scar tissue? I don't understand that
just
part.
Trauma to the area. So he already did his surgical trauma.
Right.
If you overdo it, you're creating more trauma to the area, which then your body attacks that area and lays down more scar tissue.
Oh,
so I think, as you find that balance of, yes, we want to remodel the scar tissue. That's why we force you through the hill slides and make it bend to make that more of a normal for it. But as you're doing more activity, especially on your feet activity, your body can react in a way where it thinks you're traumatizing it again.
Okay.
And so it's going to send those cells that create scar tissue more.
Okay. Is that in the bone itself? Is scar tissue?
More in the tissue. More like your superficial tissue, your muscle.
Okay.
And your skin.
Okay. Well, that would be the other reason why Gouch is saying let's not even cut the muscle then.
Right.
That there is a plus to that.
Right.
Okay. I mean, that's the thing. I'm understanding it better. But I've also had, I broke the end off my elbow, y'all. I really had some trauma and so I've been through some trauma, and I'm 100% fine. I don't know. Maybe he didn't cut my muscle there. I don't know.
There's probably not a lot over that.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So that's where the scar tissue could build, is in that muscle.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And so that's why, okay. Well, there's that. That's interesting. That's an interesting reason to maybe not cut that muscle. But
pros and cons to a lot of. Doctors all have different approaches.
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, do your research, talk to friends and family, but find somebody you feel comfortable with. Look at their outcomes, things like that.
And that's why I went with Dr. Hodrick. And again, I just I can't say enough about how the ease of how it's gone. But I do get people wanting to do something, it makes you kind of wonder if what Dr. Gouch is doing might become more popular.
Right.
I don't know. The one thing I've noticed is the scar the incision seems to be twice as long, maybe.
Right.
So I don't know. And
some that do the anterior approach like yours,
yeah,
some can be longer than others. Again,
yeah,
it's all it's surgeon's technique.
Yeah. Like I said, Dr. Hodrick's pretty good at it. I'm saying he's really good. But anything we've not covered, because I know we've got to move on. It's 7:30. Can you believe it?
Already?
Already.
Wow.
It goes quick.
I know it. We could talk about this all day.
I know. So anything we've missed that you would advise
I'd say
people?
just be motivated.
Okay.
Go into it. Yes, you're going to hurt, but you're going to have a better outcome if you go into it with a positive attitude, work hard with us at the clinic, and then when you're at home too. That's what matters most, is doing your homework.
And where is the clinic?
Our clinic it's at the new location. We were at the hospital for a long, long time, but now we're at 2006 Memorial Boulevard. It is there by Burger King, between Burger King and Hardy, so you can get you a good breakfast too.
There you go. Star Physical Therapy is where we're talking. And guys, that's the only ones I've done therapy with, and I highly recommend you guys as well.
Thank you.
And I love Bethany. If you can get on her schedule, she stays kind of busy. So
just a little bit.
But you've got great therapists in there.
We do.
Everyone I have talked to are just wonderful.
We have a good group there.
You really do. Yeah. Star Physical Therapy, you guys. I appreciate you so much. And do you have a phone number you can give out?
Yes. Our number is 615-382-3078.
Do it twice. Do it again.
615-382-3078.
Okay. I guess we're done, Bethany. I'll see you. Today's Wednesday. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow at 1.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany. God bless you. Star Physical Therapy, Bethany Tees. She is the director, right?
Yes.
The director at Star Physical Therapy, and can't recommend them enough. And I hope maybe that takes a little of the fear out of joint replacement for you, knowing a little bit more about it. And you're going to hear a little bit more about it from me and Bill tomorrow. So thank you so much. I'll let you make the exit and let Ryan come on in. And I'm going to talk about one of my sponsors. We're going to talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. I probably should have done it while Bethany was in here because she's friends of theirs too. But it's so funny because Bethany actually yesterday asked me, so what's up with the Prime Realty? Have they changed something? I said, no, I say this all the time. It's just a new branch in the Exit tree. Exit Realty is a large company. They were part of the Exit Garden Gate team for a long time. And because they have their separate offices now, Barry is the broker here in Springfield, has an office on the downtown square. Rebecca has an agency office, and she is out of White House. And so they took those two offices and brought you a new branch in the Exit tree. So it's the same great team, just a new name. Exit Prime Realty. That's how you can find Barry and Rebecca. You can Google them. That's how we find everything these days. It's like, well, would you have a contact? It's like Star Physical Therapy. Just Google Star Physical Therapy and you'll find our clinic right here locally. But same thing with Barry and Rebecca Richards. You can Google them, or here's the number for Rebecca, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. What's unique about them? They've got a diverse background. They are in Cross Plains. They've been there for nearly 30 years, so they're Robertson County, just like me. They're transplants, but been here a long time. This is home. So they really understand the Robertson County community. They specialize in Robertson County properties, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. They've worked in, Barry was in Nashville working for 17 plus years as a vice president of a media marketing company and knows marketing. So you bring that to the table. It's a game changer when you're trying to sell property, and they're from Kentucky, just like me. So they understand the nuances of buying property in Kentucky. What does it mean to have state income tax? All of those things. They get it. And so they've got that diverse background that they bring to the table. If you've got questions, just reach out to them. They're everywhere. You'll see them popping up with booths at all kinds of community events. And they're just really great friends and know their stuff when it comes to what's going on in the real estate community. Reach out to them today, Barry and Rebecca Richards, Exit Prime Realty. And when you do, please always let them know that you appreciate them sponsoring our show and that U-Turn sent you. And let's get on into it. I get to talk to my friend, Ryan. Good morning. You rested up since the freedom fest?
Got there. Finally got there. That was a busy day, a long day, but a great day.
Yeah.
It was probably, we've talked about it, our smoothest one that we've ever had.
Awesome.
So that was good. The crowd was great. It was hot.
Yeah.
Right? It was hot. And so, but our only issues that day, we had a couple of people that overheated, and so it required some medical attention. And but they were okay, best I understood. And it's just hot. It was just.
Do you have numbers? How many do we think we had?
We have some preliminary numbers, and we have about 7,000 or so that were out that day, and that's the whole event. So a lot of people think 7,000. I'll never go to that. Well, keep in mind that's over a 6-hour span. Some folks come early and get some food and ride some rides and maybe enjoy some music and leave, and then a lot of folks might come at at 6:30 or 7 o'clock to kind of settle in for the rest of the music and the fireworks. So it's never overwhelming. And we did have, I think the only complaints we had were that some of the lines were long for the food vendors, which we can add some food vendors, right? But that also lets us know that the food vendors we had were, did well, and also that people enjoyed it, right? People enjoyed those. So the rides were great, and so it was just a big event. We just see so many smiles, right? And so when for our staff that goes to work every day to try to serve folks, and when we put on an event like that is smooth, no major issues, no storms this year. That kind of got us last year early in the day. It's just it's rewarding for our staff to be able to see that what they're doing is making a difference, that people are enjoying it and smiling and having a good time.
We got to be there for the fireworks.
Did you?
Yeah, because see, with it being on church night,
right?
I have obligations up at Madison Church of Christ with our Celebrate Recovery program, and so I had my grandson, and I did not tell him. I mean, we ended up leaving. I kind of got some of the other volunteers. I said, "Can y'all please handle this so I can go ahead and get on the road?" Because I said I want to get back for the fireworks, because we didn't want to tell my grandson that's what we were going to do unless we felt like we could get there. And so we got there and pulled in, and again it was great. And I noticed that. I know some people leaving before the fireworks. I'm like, why would you want to leave before the fire? That's the thing. And so I saw some people leaving. And then we came in and we were setting, we actually came in around the edges of it. We kind of just pulled up and didn't come into the fairgrounds. But I put him up on top of the car, and I've got the fire. I've got a video of him, and he's just like, he's so excited, because we were so stunned at how close we were. And what a good view. I'll have to send you my video.
That'd be great.
Oh, my goodness. It was wonderful. The only thing I was setting, it was so funny because I got video of him with the grand finale, and where we were setting, we set near a light. And when you were watching it, you weren't distracted by the street light. But when I tried to videotape it, it would pop on. Well, whenever the grand finale happened, it knocked out the street light. It was so bright.
Wow.
And so I got a few minutes of really good video without that light shining. And I thought, okay, next year I'm sitting over there.
Right.
It was a fabulous show.
It was a great show. It was about 21 or 22 minutes long. It
blew my mind.
It was a great show. And
wow.
Yeah. That's one of the things we were worried about leading up to the event, is we hadn't had any rain.
Yeah.
Right. And so our fire department had been out there, in the drop zone, making sure the drop zone was wet. And we need to thank North Springfield Baptist Church. That's where we shoot those. Since we moved Freedom Fest to the fairgrounds from the park, we needed a place to shoot those. We used to shoot them at the Rock Quarry, and have moved across the street now to North Springfield. And grateful for Brother Mike and their church for allowing us to shoot those fireworks there and give us a location. They've got a nice spot in the back with some open area, and so that works out great. And of course, the Fair Board for allowing us to have that event down there. They don't charge us a dime, and so we're thankful for that partnership as well.
Well, it was wonderful, and next year I'm hoping I can get there for the event itself, because I'm assuming it will always be on the 3rd.
Well, mostly.
What are we gonna do?
Mostly. So, but next year it will be on the 3rd. So,
well, that's good. It'll be on Thursday.
It'll be on Thursday next year.
I won't be working.
And then it'll probably be on the 3rd. I think we'd kind of targeted the 3rd going into this year for the next 3 years.
Okay.
And then we'll kind of see how things work out. We want to make sure that we maximize folks' ability to get there. And the 3rd seems to work out great for the most part. Obviously, it fell on a Wednesday this year, which was an odd day. But we kind of look at July 4th as a family day.
I agree.
It also allows our employees to be off, those that wouldn't otherwise be working anyway, and not have a lot of employees that wouldn't be working on the 4th come in on the 4th. So we figure community event day the day before the 4th, and then let everybody enjoy the 4th, with their family at the pool or on the lake or out back grilling or whatever they'd like to do.
Well, and we're talking with Ryan Martin. He is our city manager, and I had to just, that is what we just got through, was our Freedom Fest. It was spectacular, and I just wanted to kind of acknowledge that. But I know you've got a mayor and alderman meeting you need to give us the details on. So you ready to just jump right into that?
Absolutely, I can jump right into that.
Okay.
We didn't have much of an agenda last night. Summer tends to be somewhat light, and once we get through the budget, now May and June obviously were big meetings, but once we get through the budget and some different fiscal year business items that we have to do, either wrapping up, cleaning up budget items from the previous year and passing the new budget, July generally is a lighter meeting for us, and so that's kind of the way last night was. We had some rezonings on the agenda, nothing of any major consequence. A couple of them were just cleanups. for instance, it's a unique situation, Laverne. It's one of those things where you discover something and you wonder how something happened, 40, 50 years ago, whatever it did. But Goodwill, where Goodwill sits, there was a line on our zoning map right through the middle of where Goodwill, kind of chopping off Goodwill and Papa John's, and that was zoned residential. And the rest of the shopping center, now it's all one parcel, but the rest of the shopping center was zoned commercial. One of those just things that you find, and we found it because there's some, work being done over there. They built a new strip center and that sort of thing. And we just said, well, hey, we need to go clean that up. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And so we need to go clean that up. And so that was one of them that we did. Another one was on Bradley Drive, it was tornado damage. And so that was a nonconformity where the zoning was put in place after the use, and one of those governmental things that we just cleaned that one up too and allowed that gentleman to rebuild over there and continue to operate. Just something that you don't know until something happens, and then you discover that there's an issue, right?
Okay.
But now the one that was new was, you remember the Board of Education headquarters, where it was on Woodland Street, right there at Woodland and 22nd?
Yes.
Jim Moore, G.S. Moore and Son, has bought that and is going to develop that and have a few apartments, townhomes, and a commercial building there. So that was being rezoned from R7, which is what it used to be, a residential, to multiple residential and office district. So that's going to be a new development over there. So there was some discussion last night. We had, during our public comment period, someone from Woodland Street Methodist Church, very nice lady, came and expressed their concern. And it was kind of unique. What she said was, they've always kind of used that parking lot for the church. The church has no parking. The church is right across the street.
Yeah.
And her point last night was that the church was built, I think she said, in 1907, which was a year before the first automobile. So they didn't need parking when the church was built.
Funny.
Right? So it's funny to put those things in perspective about how old and the original context, because some folks might look at it and think, well, they should have parking. Well, the church was built before parking was needed.
Hysterical.
So anyway, I hope they can work something out, because there is no parking in that area, and street parking is not the safest, right? And but that was a discussion item last night and a public comment. And we encourage anybody. I'll kind of park right there for just a second, no pun intended. We were talking about parking, but we have a public comment period on our agenda, and folks can register for that. Now, the law, it's a state law that provides for that comment period, and it has to be something relative on the agenda. Like last night, they came to talk about that rezoning. So it's not just, anything that happened to be on someone's mind for efficiency purposes. For legislative business to operate and go smoothly. But if there's something on that legislative agenda or that business agenda that you want to discuss or be heard about, you can register to be heard about that. And anybody gets 2 minutes. The first, I forget how long the public comment period lasts. I think it's 30 minutes. And so each person gets 2 minutes to speak. So you can register for that on our website. I think it's springfieldtn.gov/public comment. We also have public hearings on rezonings. On second readings for ordinances. So it goes back to that theme that we talk about often, that we're working, our job, our goal, and our mission is to work for the people, right? Mm-hmm. And hearing from the people is part of that, because we need to hear from folks, right? And so we get fortunate to get messages and comments and things like that, emails and that come into the office, things via social media and that sort of thing. And that's why we put out surveys about various things too, because we want to know if what we're doing is what the people want. Because if it's not, then we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is serving the people, right? Okay. And so our elected officials that are up there, those are the ones that are elected by the folks here, and they need to hear from you too. So we encourage that. We encourage that participation. That's why we live stream our meetings. That's why we put those things on the website that anybody can see. We're not trying to hide in the dark and do things, secretly or anything like that. Everything we do is very, very transparent, and we're proud of that, because we want folks to know what we're doing, and that way they can tell us if we're doing it right or not.
There you go. If you got some concerns. So
that's right.
Very good. And I had never even thought about a church being so old that they didn't need parking.
How about that?
Yeah. I never even thought about that. But yeah, that makes perfect sense.
It's unique.
Yeah, it really is.
We're an old city, though, and that's
we are. Mm-hmm.
That's we're 200 and some odd years old, so there are a lot of. It's not like there are some newer cities, in Tennessee that we talk about, and and they don't have these issues that we have, because they don't have buildings that were built before before automobiles were in place and things like that. But those are things that we face downtown from time to time, and that sort of thing. So it's great to have that historic area and that charm. it also comes with its challenges.
Oh, and
as
it
well.
comes with expense. Just look at what's happening with the courthouse right now with trying to do the renovations and do it historically, or not the renovations, the repair from the flooding, and doing it historically.
Right.
You know, so we're talking with Ron Martin. He is our city manager, and they have their mayor and alderman meeting on the third Tuesday. And then he comes in on that following Wednesday to just kind of update us on the meeting. So what else have you got on your agenda?
We implemented a new, or on first reading, implemented a new policy. It'll be finalized in August for a renewable interconnection. And what that is something that we hadn't really, there's a new TVA set of guidelines. Of course, background is we own our electric utility. And so TVA is not only the wholesaler, but the regulator. And we have some interest from some folks that want to put up some solar on their property to serve their property, but then sell any excess back. So it's not a solar farm. It's not anything like that. It's if there's anything left, we'd like to sell it back to the grid after they use it. Right. And that's pretty, we're hearing about that around the state. I mean, obviously it's made its way to Tennessee, and we're hearing more and more about that. So we had to put in a policy. We don't have a policy for that, right? And so we had to put in a policy to be in line with TVA, and TVA will allow that to happen. And TVA will actually purchase. We don't do it, but TVA will purchase that excess energy back from those people for the grid. So,
See, and this is something that I know a little bit about solar energy because there are people, my family farms, and so they've been approached about we want land to put in these solar farms and things like that, and I don't want to see farmland go. We need our farmers. We need to be growing crops, guys. And we think we're really setting ourselves up for some real problems as a nation if we don't understand you've got to preserve your farmland and encourage farming. And so, but I'm very interested in solar panels. So what if I've got this great livestock barn. What if I wanted to put solar panels on one side of that livestock barn? Yeah. Would I have to come and get a zoning permit, or could I do that just out? I mean, what would that be? Because we're in the county though, so that's maybe more of a question for Trent Cobb and all those guys, over at the county offices.
Yeah, so. And your electric utility is Cumberland Electric, and so I think what a lot of folks have done, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, because honestly, I don't know probably as much as you do about it, but a lot of folks will have put solar panels and they will power a certain amount. I don't think it runs through the main, but I think they power a certain amount of their, like if you wanted to power the barn, for instance, off of solar panels, you could just set that up with the solar panels and your own infrastructure, and it wouldn't run through your electric service. What these folks are trying to do is they say, hey, we've got we can put a lot of solar panels, and we figure we can generate more.
Oh, I see.
Then we figure we'll generate more than we'll use.
Right.
Because we're probably not going to use as much as we'll generate. So would TVA buy the rest back from us?
Gotcha.
And that's what
it's fascinating.
It is very fascinating.
It really is interesting. And I mean, I've got a couple of spaces where I'm like, I could put some solar panels on there. Why would I not? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I just think I see a lot of even places that have exorbitant power bills, and I look at them and I'm like, you can put some solar panels on there and help offset your electrical costs. And I don't know why we're so, I don't want to see fields of them, but when it comes to putting them on our personal property on your rooftop, makes sense to me. But I think it's something very, very interesting.
It is
very interesting.
Something that blew my mind when I first went to Hawaii. All the roofs are covered with solar panels.
Really?
All of them. I mean, every roof is covered with solar panels.
Really?
Because electricity, I don't know what the electricity generation situation is there, but I imagine it's pretty difficult with just when you have islands.
That makes sense.
And so it's not like TVA where you have a power plant and then you can, have these big, and I'm sure they have some generation and some distribution, but it's solar. I mean, because they're just out there and they've got a lot of sunshine. So. And I understand the issue with solar farms and things like that, eating up farmland. And I agree. I think there's a great concern, not only, in our area, but nationally, that farmland is going away. Farmers are going away.
Oh,
we're not seeing, and I think that's part of the reason when we talk to, because we've seen a lot, some farmland that is developed around here. And part of what we hear is the last farmer in the generation says, kids don't want it. They don't want to farm.
They don't want
They
to farm.
Nobody wants to,
Well,
So I think, not to get on that topic, but we've got to probably do a little bit better job of recruiting farmers, right?
Yes, we do.
And encouraging farming, because you're right. I mean, it's a dangerous path to go down. It's,
my brother's third generation, and I'm just hoping and praying one of his boys comes along, and they all do other things. But I'm really hoping one of his boys will, go into it to some degree.
Yeah.
Maybe all of them kind of a little part time or something. But that's my only concern really with solar is that. But otherwise, it's why not? I think the churches should have these little solar panel things where you pull. I think they have them down in Mexico. I've seen them where they have the little things where you park your car in and it shades and it's a solar panel.
Yep.
And it's like, why would you not do that?
Yeah.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. We're talking with Ryan Martin. I'm going down a rabbit hole
We
here.
did.
I don't
We
want
got
to,
there.
but it's interesting. It's just
Yeah, it is.
interesting. And I've got a kid that's an electrical engineer, so he knows all this stuff.
Oh,
Now
wow.
he says micronuclear is where it's at, and a lot of
it is.
people, and that's he would love to work with micronuclear, but it's just not enough people. You have to be in the military pretty much to work with that. And so, but that's the direction he thinks we need to go. But he says solar panel is a great backup.
Sure is.
Great backup for everyone. He goes, everybody should have some kind of solar panel, power generation.
I think that's what TVA's talked about, the micronuclear and how that's, and what you'll see instead of the large nuclear plants, what you'll see is regionalized nuclear plants that will power, because TVA, that's one of the things that we're concerned about. And we're attending some meetings and things like that where TVA is trying to assure everybody that they can meet the demand, right?
Yeah.
Because they're our only supplier. We can't get electricity from anybody else in Springfield. I mean,
Right.
here in Springfield, there's no one else that, we can get electricity, that Springfield Electric can get electricity from, that's generating it. So we rely 100% on TVA. That's one of those things that we need to know that they can meet the demand, right? And I think micronuclear, obviously natural gas is, natural gas powered plants, and but that nuclear, that like regionalized local nuclear, instead of the massive nuclear plant, regionalized nuclear plants. Of course, then you get into a NIMBY situation where everybody wants it, just not in their backyard, right?
Exactly.
Everybody thinks it's a good idea as long as it's not near them.
Yes, exactly. And I told my son, I said, nuclear power needs a new publicist. They need to get, people need to understand it better. And only reason I do is because of him. It's fascinating, but interesting stuff. Talking with Ryan Martin, he is, of course, our city manager for the city of Springfield. Let me do my ad, and then we'll come back and reset, and I'll shut up and let you finish up, because this is what we end up doing. We end up getting off track.
That's right.
And we don't get to all the meeting stuff, so I want to make sure you get through the rest of your meeting agenda. But we need to talk about veterans and Motorplex. Get to the races, y'all. It's so much fun. This is Old Highland Rim Speedway. It is. It's been around a long time. Talking with Mayor Vogel yesterday and how he used to go when he was a kid, when he was a young man, and he talks about going out there and watching the races and some of the legends that have raced on that track. It is so well done out there. So much fun. If you've not been to the races, you're like, well, I don't like the races. Do you even know? I have spent so much time. I've gone and done events at racetracks throughout my entire broadcast career, and I would go and we would do our little thing, and then we would leave, and I never really sat for the races. Well, then I sat down and watched the races several times last year. It is a blast. I got to see the big tractor trailers race. That was really crazy because, on that little asphalt track, it's exciting. It's exciting stuff. But if you want to have a lot of fun with your family, this is a family-friendly environment. A $40 ticket will get up to 6 kids and 2 adults in for $40. You can go out there on Saturday. I think the gates open 6 o'clock or maybe 5 o'clock. But anyway, get on out there, and I need to confirm that from him. But they have got absolutely, 4 p.m. Yes, gates open at 4 p.m. on Saturday. So we want to get you out there and enjoy just all that's wonderful and exciting about our racetrack. This is the Old Highland Rim Speedway, Veterans Motorplex. They've done some rehab out there, done some renovations, and you're going to have a ball. Get out there with your family, watch all the local favorites, and when you get out there, please let them know U-Turn sent you. And it's very important, follow them at Highland Rim Speedway so you know if there's any kind of
Okay. The other thing that one of the other notable things that happened that will affect some households last night was recycling. We did extend our recycling contract with Green Village. However, Green Village is increasing that cost for the first time in 6 years. So I feel like that's probably a victory. When that program was implemented in 2018, it was $11 a month for the pickups, and now it is we're going up to $15. So it's $4 increase that Green Village has requested. We all know what inflation's done. We all know what overhead and cost and O&M and all of that stuff has done over the last 6 years. So we feel fortunate that Green Village has kind of absorbed a lot of those increases for our households. But that's one of those things that has to come to an end. It's still cheaper to have a recycling cart than it is for sanitation, which we're thankful for. It's $16 for a sanitation cart, $15 for a recycling cart. I have both. It works out great. Instead of having 2 trash carts, I can throw the cardboard and that sort of thing in one, and then put the household garbage in the other one. And so we have quite a few households. We continue to see households that recycle. My pitch for recycling is not from an environmental. I don't know enough about I'm just a dumb country lawyer, so I don't know much about the environment and that sort of thing. What I do know is landfills are full.
Yes, they are. We're having to cart ours off.
And exactly, and that's an extreme cost that gets passed along to the taxpayers of the county. So that's tough. And so landfills are full. That's a issue in a lot of areas, but especially Middle Tennessee, that's an issue. So anytime we get the opportunity to recycle, that's something that doesn't go to a landfill and allows that to be recycled. That wildly, and I'm going to make a big connection, I'm going to make a big jump, but that reduces your tax burden overall, right? Because that's less of a tax burden that you have with the government trying to bury your trash or take off, as you said. We have to the Robertson County has to take our trash somewhere else. And Mayor Vogel can talk a lot more about that for probably as long as you'll let him, because I know he feels strongly about the issue with the landfill and the landfill situation in our area and in Middle Tennessee. So that's my pitch for recycling. It's cheaper than a sanitation cart. We have quite a few households, hundreds of households that have signed up, but I'm sure that Green Village would love to have more customers, and honestly, it's better. It's a better situation. So my pitch for recycling, if anybody wants to sign up for that, they can call our Public Works Department, 615-384-2746, and they can. I hope I got that number right. I hope someone doesn't get random phone calls and I just spouted their number off.
I was going to have you do it again, but I was like, well, he's not 100% sure.
Yeah,
so just Google.
I think that's right.
Just Public Works.
Public Works.
Springfield. Right.
And they can get you signed up for that. We do. Kind of help, and the convenience factor that we provide there is we put that charge on your utility bill. That's kind of our partnership with Green Village. Green Village does all the pickups. Right. Green Village Recycling, they handle everything. All we do is we'll drop the cart off at your house because we have a few, and then we'll put that on your utility bill so you don't get 2 bills. You can just pay that extra $15 on your utility bill. It's just a convenient service. So
and good stewardship.
That's my pitch for that.
Of the planet. Go for it. Keep going.
I think we've got, I don't know if we have just a couple minutes left,
yes.
but first Friday night or first Fridays now, Band Entice is going to be playing in August. It's going to be awesome. We had a huge crowd in July, huge crowd in June. The music's been great. The Band Entice, we actually had them at Freedom Fest too. They brought the house down, and they'll do it again August the 2nd, I believe. So come out to First Friday for the market and for the concert. That'll be great. A good time for everybody. We've got a few of those left this year. And then finally, State of the City is coming up next week. That's a week from tomorrow. Our State of the City event at the center. So you can register for that online if folks want to attend. That'll be an update from Mayor Williams and myself, and we'll be giving an update on kind of where the city is and where we've come from in the last fiscal year, where we're going, and kind of where we are today.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, well, let me ask this question then.
Sure.
Do you have to get a ticket for because it's a meal, isn't it?
It's a meal, yeah.
Okay, so can you unpack that for me real quick?
Yeah, so
got another minute.
There is a ticket that's hosted by the Kiwanis Club and Rotary Club.
Okay.
We're thankful that they partnered together to host that State of the City. They handle the catering, so your ticket cost pays the meal cost.
So do you have to do the meal ticket to come, or can I
Yes.
come just and spectate?
Yeah, so it's a ticket because you get fed if you come. So anybody that comes is able to.
So you
eat.
can't just come in and watch watch the message.
But for those that are interested in the message, we do post that video online later.
Very good.
Yeah, we can't live stream it, but we make that video available later.
Okay, very good. Ron Martin, our city manager, doors always open. If you have any questions, reach out to him. And I guess that's it for me. We got Lee Marie coming in here. She's got the Go Show coming up next. And always something interesting and wonderful. Thank you, Ron, as always. And be sure and join us tomorrow because we set up the start of this whole, we were talking about joint replacement with Bethany Tees, Dr. Bethany Tees, actually from Star Physical Therapy this morning. She came in. She's my therapist and dear friend as well. Well, Bill Jones and I both had knee replacement just a few days apart, and he had the different doctor, Dr. Gouch, and I had Dr. Hodrick. We're going to talk about the comparison of those two surgeries so you can kind of understand it a little bit better, but I think that's going to be an interesting conversation. I haven't gotten to talk to Bill since his big knee replacement and mine, so we're going to talk tomorrow, and then, of course, we'll have United Way in as well. So that's the plan for tomorrow. 1100 WSGI. God bless.